Have you ever wondered what goes on in those legendary outlaw motorcycle clubs? The ones who live by their own rules and look at the law as more of a suggestion? Well, we are taking a deep dive into the underground world of the baddest bikers around and the extreme codes they're expected to follow. Are you ready to get your mind blown by some of the craziest club rules in existence? So let's take a look at 10 of the most badass outlaw motorcycle clubs and some of their most insane important rules that members must follow. 10 Pagans Motorcycle Club. The Pagans Motorcycle Club was formed way back in the 1950s as a regular bike crew. But once the Cultural Revolution of the 1960s came around, the Pagans took a turn into the seedy underworld of organized crime. By skirting and outright breaking numerous laws, they transformed into an outlaw biker gang, one of the largest and most dangerous in the entire United States today. Law enforcement agencies consider the Pagans a major criminal threat. But perhaps their most archaic and misogynistic rule is that no woman involved with a pagan member can ever be his wife. These pet women, as the club dubs them, aren't deemed respectable or worthy enough to be married. It's an extremely demeaning policy that objectifies women in a crude way. How would you feel if your boyfriend or husband's motorcycle club had a rule saying you could never be his wife just because you're a woman? Seems pretty messed up, right? Here's 9 Vos Motorcycle Club. When it comes to the Vos Motorcycle Club, they don't seem to have any qualms about breaking the law. According to law enforcement, the Vagos are heavily involved in drug trafficking operations, smuggling illicit substances across the US-Mexico border. Their criminal enterprises don't stop there. Some Vagos members were even accused of attempting to set up booby traps intended to harm police officers in California, though the club successfully sued for defamation over those claims. Ultimately, the Vagos live by the credo that whatever illegal activities their members engage in away from official club business is their own personal matter, as long as it doesn't directly involve the club itself. The Vagos don't care how their members make money or what lines they cross. It's a stark philosophy of turning a blind eye to criminal behavior. Should criminal motorcycle clubs be allowed to operate however they want, as long as their illegal activities don't involve the club itself? Where should the line be drawn? 8. Bandidos Motorcycle Club. The Bandidos take their sense of nationwide unity very seriously, referring to themselves and all their chapters as the Bandido Nation. This allegiance to the overall club is reinforced through stringent rules members must follow. When prospecting to join, new recruits are required to sign over legal ownership of their motorcycle to the club itself. Their bike no longer belongs to them, but to the Bandidos. Additionally, if any event like a funeral is happening with another Bandido chapter elsewhere, all members are mandated to attend regardless of what chapter they are officially patched in with. There's no sense of separation. The club comes first, before anything else in their lives. These rules underscore the Bandidos' cultish, borderline militant mindset of putting the entire organization before any individual member's desires. Could you ever sign over ownership of your motorcycle, one of your most prized possessions, to join a club? That's a crazy demand. 7. Hells Angels. While the Hells Angels are infamous for their criminal enterprises and run-ins with the law, they aren't above utilizing legal channels when it serves their interests. Despite their outlaw reputation, the Hells Angels have demonstrated a willingness to operate within the confines of the justice system if it allows them to get their way. A prime example was when they sued the production company behind the comedy film Wild Hogs for unauthorized use of the Hells Angels' trademark name and insignia logos. The club took legal action and ultimately won, showing their philosophy of deploying lawyers and courts as tactical weapons when needed. For the notoriously nefarious Hells Angels, skirting the law is acceptable unless the law can be exploited to their advantage through legitimate means. Doesn't it seem a bit hypocritical for a club that breaks so many laws to then turn around and sue others for seemingly small stuff like using their brand name? What's your take on that? 6. Outlaws Motorcycle Club. For the Outlaws, the most important rule is all about expansion and protecting their turf at all costs. They're constantly trying to encroach on smaller clubs' territory through intimidation and violence. Smaller clubs either have to allow their members to join the Outlaws or just disappear. The outlaws defend their territories vigilantly and by any means necessary, including brutal assaults and even murder of rival club members. Can you imagine having your entire motorcycle club dissolved and being forced to either join a notorious gang or give up riding altogether? That's the kind of stark choice the outlaws give smaller clubs in their territories. 5 Grim Reapers Motorcycle Club. The Grim Reapers have very strict requirements for any prospective new members. You must ride a Harley-Davidson motorcycle, be a white male, and meet their other standards, which were actually published in a newspaper in 1981. Failing to meet their criteria means no entry into the club, plain and simple. Their rules are extremely discriminatory towards women, minorities, and anyone who doesn't ride a Harley. How would you feel if a club you were interested in joining outright rejected you for your gender, race, or key preference before even getting to know you? Seems pretty narrow-minded, right? 4 Mongols Motorcycle Club. The story goes that the Mongols were formed after Hispanic riders were denied entry into the Hells Angels for not being white. Not only did the Hispanic members start their own club, the Mongols, but they took over the Hells Angels territory in Southern California through brazen acts of violence and intimidation. And their most important rule? Never back down from a fight. Advice they've clearly taken to heart. Mongols members are expected to retaliate swiftly and forcefully against any provocations. While it's noble that the Mongols overcame racial discrimination, does using violent tactics to expand their turf justify their actions? At what point does a club go too far? 3 Iron Horsemen Motorcycle Club. While not as large as some other outlaw clubs, the Iron Horsemen are notorious for their frequent involvement in drug smuggling, weapons trafficking, and other serious crimes that cross legal lines. But their poetic motto sums up their most important rule: ashes to ashes, dust to dust. If it went for the Iron Horsemen, the highways would rust. Basically, their number 1 rule is to live on the road as much as possible while making money through illicit means. Could you ever adopt the hardcore biker lifestyle of living on the road and breaking the law just to belong to a club? That seems like a crazy way to live. 2 Black Pistons Motorcycle Club. The Black Pistons aren't an independent club, but rather a support group for the infamous Outlaws. When the Outlaws need backup muscle, new recruits, or extra hands for criminal operations, they call on the Black Pistons. The Pistons' most important rule is following the Outlaws' Constitution, which states members must be at least 21, ride American-made bikes, and have been friends with an existing member for a year minimum before even prospecting. Could you ever join a club whose sole purpose is to be soldiers for another, larger, more notorious gang? That seems like a risky proposition. 1 CACS Motorcycle Club. Rounding out our list, the CACS are fiercely loyal to the Harley-Davidson brand, only allowing members to ride Harleys above a certain engine displacement. While they consider themselves patriots, the CACS have a strict rule prohibiting any member from wearing any insignia or patches declaring white supremacy, as they take pride in taking care of their own, regardless of race. So there you have it. 10 of the most badass, legendary outlaw motorcycle clubs and some of the crazy rules their members live by. From rank-and-file requirements to territorial dominance to literally signing over your motorcycle, being part of an outlaw club means adhering to a strict set of codes, whether you like it or not. It's a lifetime commitment to brotherhood, but one with plenty of illegal risks. Did I miss any insane club rules you've heard about? Let me know in the comments below, and ride safe out there. After learning about all these intense rules, could you ever see yourself wanting to prospect for an outlaw club? Or is that life a little too extreme for you? Let me know your thoughts. See you soon in the next video. Until then, bye.